Assalamu alaikum. In today's class, what I am going to do is I will be discussing certain aspects that are related to market failure. Market failure is also one of the important area which is being covered in IAS economics. Mainly 14 marks or 20 marks essay questions will be assessed in market failure. In our last session, what we did was we have discussed about some of the exam structures. We have also discussed how to answer a typical 14 marks question. So in today's class, it will be all about market failure and things that are related to market failure. When we are looking to the market failure, first thing is to understand what is market failure. Market failure means when the market forces of demand and supply fails to allocate resources efficiently. It could be because of several reasons, because market might be failing if there is excess demand in any area or if there is any excess supply in a particular area, it could be. There are certain causes that have been identified in your syllabus, which is being 5 major causes are being identified. So what I will do in today's class is I will be mainly discussing the first 3 causes and then leave the other 2 causes for the panel discussion, because these are the areas where students want more to be discussed. When you are looking to the major causes of market failure arises mainly because if there is externality. Externality means impact on third party because of production or consumption. Sometimes it could be positive externalities which is causing market failure. Sometimes it could be negative externalities which is causing market failure. You might be wondering why positive externality is causing a market failure. For example, if you are thinking about education or vaccination, how might vaccine cause market failure? The reason is, if you are thinking about positive externality might be a cause of market failure if it is underproduced or underconsumed. But if you are thinking about negative externality, it can be because of overconsumption or maybe because of overproduction. What I will do in detail is I will be discussing how to answer a 20 marks essay question in positive externality, so that I think it will be clear for you to understand graph and the other analysis as well. Second cause of market failure is non-provision of public goods. You know that market failure is when the private sector firms are unable to allocate resources efficiently. So one of the main reasons why private sector operate is to maximize profit. So in order to maximize profit, what they do is they provide goods and services for which consumers are willing to pay price. One reason why private sector might fail to allocate resource efficiently is because public goods are those goods which are not provided by the private sector due to 2 major features. Each public good will have 2 essential features. One can be because of non-excludability, because whether you pay for it or not, you cannot be denied from getting access to the service. At the same time, non-exhaustibility. It is not exhausted even if it is being provided to certain people. For example, if you are thinking about one example of public goods can be street lights. When we are thinking about street lights, private sector firms will not be willing to provide street lights because it is not something that will be giving profit to them. The reason is, for street lights, they will not be able to fix price. They wouldn't know who are the consumers who are using street lights more than the other. For example, if you are thinking about Villa High School campus, we don't know whether students are using these areas more or whether college students are using or whether general public is using. So they cannot ask price to be paid, or they cannot ask Villa High School students to pay higher than the Villa College students or anything as such. So there is actually one problem which is being associated with provision of public goods, because it is a free rider problem. It is freely available to everybody. At the same time, there is also a valuation problem, and they'll find it difficult to put a price on these types of goods and service. Another reason why market might be failed is because of imperfect market information. Imperfect market information or asymmetric information. The reason why it can fail is because when consumers and producers do not have perfect knowledge about a product or service, it could lead to market failure. If you are thinking about the real situation that recently happened in Maldives, there was a measles outbreak. The reason why there has been a widespreading of measles or there was outbreak is because there was no proper vaccination. People were not very aware of the changes in the vaccination, at the same time whether they had to give 2 doses of vaccine or whether they had to give MMR booster. These are the things that are not, some people are not being very aware of these areas, and that reason it could be a market failure. It is not necessarily, for example, we cannot say that under vaccination or people are not giving vaccine because of not proper information. One reason why they might not be giving vaccine is because of lack of information, because initially when we were kids, maybe there might be 1 dose like MR might be there, and later MR, MMR booster, and recently they have given additional vaccine to the risky group of kids. So maybe because of this information, lack of information, it could be a market failure, but it's not the only reason why people have not given proper vaccination. Then the other 2 area is moral hazard, speculation, asset bubble. These are the things that I will be discussing mainly in our next panel, because this is the detailed area which will be assessed as well. So moving to the other areas. As I mentioned in today's class, mainly I will be identifying how to answer a 20-mark question related to externality. So as an example of this question, it has given that UNICEF identified that in Nigeria, 30% of children aged 6 to 11 do not go to school, and that many children lack a basic education. Evaluate the private benefits and external benefits of education. A very clear-cut question, but before you move into the details of this question, you need to have a thorough understanding of what is private benefit, what is private cost, what are the external factors, and all those things you should be. So when we are looking to the questions like this, you know that if you are trying to answer a question, in this case you need to, because the question says evaluate the private benefits and external benefits of education. You know that if you are looking to the answer structure of 20 marks question, 20 marks questions answer structure is knowledge, application and analysis, which is 12 marks, and your evaluation is 8 marks. So in this case, if you are thinking about this, you can say that 3 analysis and 3 evaluations are needed. But since it is an essay question, you need to have a proper introduction. What are you going to write in your introduction? As part of introduction, you need to explain what is private and as well as external benefits. What could be a private benefit of education? Private benefit means benefits that an individual or a firm might get because of consumption or production. When you are educated, what will be the benefits that you get as an individual? That could be private benefit. External benefit will be benefits that other people who are not directly associated with the but benefits to the third party because of your education. So in this case, you need to understand what is private benefit, at the same time what is external benefit. You also need to refer to the situation which is being given. When we are looking to the situation which is being given, actually here it has mentioned that UNICEF identified that in Nigeria 30% of children aged 6 to 11 do not go to school. I told you that market failure, externality can be because of 2 reasons. It could be because of external cost or it could be because of external benefit. External benefit could cause market failure because of underproduction or underconsumption. In this case, there is underconsumption. 30% of children are not, 30% of children aged 6 to 11 do not go to school. So that means primary education is not there for them. So what we are going to discuss in our session is how to analyze your answer to this given question. As I mentioned in your introduction part, you will be explaining what is private benefit and what is external benefit with the definition. Refer to the situation. Referring to the situation means you are going to apply application to the given context, which is Nigerian situation, but you also need to understand that education is a merit good. So the reason why market has failed in this context is because of underproduction or underconsumption of education, where the social benefit is greater than the private benefit. Private individuals are not affording to get enough level of education, because of this reason it could be causing market failure. So in your reference part, you are going to refer to the situation which is being given and apply. In your analysis, because in your question itself it has mentioned that it is private benefit as well as external. Private and external means both has to be included. You cannot answer this question by thinking about one perspective of only private benefits or only external benefits. Both has to be combined together and develop a well-rounded answer. So what could be the possible private benefits? Possible private benefits of education, as I mentioned, when a person is educated, what could be the individual benefit that they will be getting? One point that I have identified here is increase in education increases employment and increases income. This would increase living standard. This is very clear. When you are educated, you will be able to take up new jobs. You will be demanded because in the labor market, skills, knowledge, expertise, these are the things which are demanded more. So what happens is when you are educated, you will be given better employment opportunities. When you are employed, you will obviously be getting enough income. Because of that, as a result of enough income, your living standard increases. The reason why your living standard increases is because dependency ratio will be low. You will not be relying on somebody else to buy your basic needs. You will be able to satisfy your own needs. You can buy your clothing, you can buy your shelter. All these are the things that you can pay on your own when you are employed and if you are able to get better education. So that is one point. Another point is increase in education enables to make a better decision as they are more informed, meaning they benefit from higher returns. Actually, if you are thinking about education, for example, let's take an example of Maldivian context. We have a lot of experienced people, we have specialized people. If we are taking example of maybe Professor Ugail, if you are thinking about the situation, he is being demanded more. So what happened is whenever he is taking part in any event or anything, people will be willing to pay higher prices for him or higher wage for him. So in this case, increase in education means, plus in addition to that, when you are educated, you will be aware of what is happening. You will be able to choose what is best for you. You cannot be satisfied with whatever people are saying, right? So because of education, this will be one benefit that you get. In addition to that, increase in education increases job satisfaction. The reason why you are getting job satisfaction is actually the main important thing. Whenever you are trying to work in any environment, if you are not passionate, if you are not willing to work in there because there are some issues with the work that is being assigned, in that case you will not be able to perform better. So one important thing of education is you will be able to choose what is best for you. As a result, you can work in an environment which is providing you things that will be satisfying you, increasing job satisfaction. So this will be certain private benefits that are being associated with education. Moving to the external benefits. External benefit means when an individual is being educated. If Nigerian kids are being educated, what could be the benefit to the external third party? Okay. So because of education, one point which is being identified here is when someone is educated and becomes a doctor, the people they treat benefits from their education as they receive the right treatment. If you are thinking about the current situation of Maldives, in our country we have very limited resources. Despite the limited resources, our country's doctors are doing really well to perform in their task and they are able to treat their patients better because they have that knowledge which you could apply, right? In this case, you can also think about when someone is educated and becomes a teacher, students may benefit from better quality education. In the case of Nigerian economy, Nigeria is an African country. When we are thinking about African country, in African country, majority of people will be relying on primary sector, which means people are relying on agriculture, farming, or maybe there can be certain areas where primary activities will be related. In addition to that, they have unskilled labor force. They are not being properly educated. So what happens is if there is a proper education which is being provided, they will be able to benefit, because if they have enough teachers, that teacher will be able to help other students to get better results, or that could be increase in the awareness in the society, right? That could be identified. In addition to that, employers will be benefited from higher skilled workers, and this will raise productivity. When you employ skilled laborers, it will be increase in productivity of an organization. So what happens is, in order to maximize profit of an industry or a firm, when they employ educated staff, that will be increase in their performance. So that is one, those are certain external benefit. But if you are thinking about a nation-wise, for example, when firms are increasing their productivity, if people are getting better income, different types of tax also can be benefiting the government, because government might no longer have to spend a lot of money on these basic areas if people are able to satisfy their basic needs on their own, right? So those are certain things that you can apply to the given context. As part of your analysis, you also need to understand that graph is a very important part in your econ. Whenever you are thinking about econ discussion, one important aspect is how to apply external benefit graph to the given context. So what I am going to do is, I will be showing how to apply external benefit graph in this particular situation, and based on the graph, then we will be moving ahead with the evaluation point. As first part of external benefit and external cost graph, you need to be clear with the labeling. In this case, this is also a kind of demand and supply diagram what we are showing, but the way how you label your graph will be different if it is externality questions which is being asked. So as price axis, this could be cost and benefit, which is in terms of price. This can be quantity or the output, quantity traded. Your normal downward sloping curve is no longer labeled as demand curve. The reason why it is not being labeled as demand curve is because here this is marginal private benefit. Why it is identified as marginal private benefit? Marginal private benefit is, in other words, demand, individual benefit, the benefit that you get because of production or consumption. Then here this is marginal private cost. So that means cost to the person. For example, if I am educated, if I am trying to get education, the cost to me, because I have to pay my tuition fee, that could be the private cost that is incurred to me. When I am educated, the satisfaction that I get, it could be marginal private benefit. So what happened is, this is where the free market is operating. This is the price and this is the quantity, which means at this level they are operating. But remember that the reason why external benefit is a market failure is because marginal social benefit is greater than marginal private benefit. So what you are going to show a marginal social benefit. Marginal social benefit curve is this. If you are looking to the difference, you can see that social benefit means benefit to the society as a whole. So if you are adding private benefit as well as external benefit, that will be together added to the social benefit. So the difference between social benefit and the private benefit, it can be considered as the external benefit. What are the important 3 points that you need to identify when you are trying to answer the question? In this case, free market equilibrium. Free market equilibrium is where the market forces are operating right now. So that means it is free market is where the marginal private benefit is equal to marginal private cost. So this is the free market equilibrium, which means this is where they are operating. In Nigerian economy at the moment they are operating here. So if you are thinking about this, this is a free market equilibrium. Then there is social optimum point. Social optimum point is what is the society's minimum level. What is the point that society wants them to operate? Society wants more education. So in this case, this is the point. So in this benefit graph, marginal social benefit is also equal to marginal social cost. The reason why private cost is equal to marginal social cost is because we are assuming that there is no external cost related here. So now you are clearly able to identify social optimum point. social optimum point is marginal social benefit is equal to marginal social cost. So this is the point where they should operate. But at the moment there is under provision or under consumption here. So this triangle which I label is the welfare loss triangle. Sometimes people might be saying that it is a welfare gain as well, because moving from this position to here, private to social point, it can lead to increase in welfare gain. In other situation, it is, for the time being, it is still a welfare loss. Okay. So as part of your diagram, you are going to explain what is free market equilibrium, what is social optimum point, and what is the welfare loss or gain triangle. It is compulsory for you to explain these three areas. So free market, social optimum, then welfare loss. What could be the other part in your explanation? The other part in your explanation is how are you going to evaluate your answer. In your evaluation, what you have to understand is you need to identify that in the case of this question, technically you have identified benefits of education to the individual, benefits of education to the external factors, those things you have analyzed. But the next part is how to evaluate your answer. When we are thinking about evaluation, one point it says measurement problem. We are unable to actually, by providing education, we will not be able to give monetary value to that. We cannot say that when Nigerian 30% children are being educated, it will be given $20 billion worth. That we cannot say, because we never know that. In addition to that, magnitude. What is the quality of education that is being provided? Here we are talking about 30% of kids who are unable to get primary education. So if you are thinking about the quality of education, by providing this basic primary education, will they be able to get the points that we have explained? Will they be able to get better job opportunities? Will they be able to get job satisfaction? Will their firms be able to get increase in productivity because of that education? So it depends on the quality of education. What is the quality that is being provided? That is one point. Another one is time frame. You know that education cannot be effective in short period of time. It is not possible for firms to get benefits. For example, if government of Maldives is giving scholarships to the students, if they are doing medicine, it will take 7 years. So it will be effective in long run. Short run, it is not going to be effective. Plus, some of those who are receiving best education may leave their own country. You know that there might be a couple of people who might be studying from government's budget, but they might not be returning back to their country. So in that case, it might not necessarily be beneficial. In addition to that, here it depends on what education is received. As I mentioned, if it is just primary education, that will not be benefited, but depends on whether they are providing the needed level of education. For example, if you are thinking about Maldivian economy, those students who are doing business studies, 90% of students after completing A-level, they might be choosing accounting and finance. So by the time when everybody does accounting and finance, will there be enough opportunities for them? Or is that the only area that is needed for a country? So similarly, in the case of Nigerian economy, we have to see whether the level of education that they are planning to provide, is that sufficient for them to get better level of better living standard or better wage or all these things. In addition to that, curriculum design is also important. What kind of curriculum are they providing? Are they providing a well-rounded curriculum? Because holistic education approach is needed whenever they are trying to promote education. Just content coverage and all these things will not be helping for them to earn skills and knowledge that they have to practice in the working environment, right? So these are certain things that you have to apply in your evaluation. As I mentioned previously, you need to provide a conclusion. In our recent panel discussion, we have given information on how to conclude your statement. So make sure that based on the given situation of Nigerian economy, you should apply what could be. Is that, for example, we can say that just provision of education might not necessarily be improving the condition that we have mentioned, because there are a lot of other factors that has to be considered. It depends on the healthcare facilities that are there, it depends on the technology, or it depends on the infrastructure that is being developed. So other factor has to be considered when you are trying to explain. This is how to develop a 20-mark question. But you know that since you have been quite away from school for a long period of time, you need to practice. It is only the good practice which will be making you perfect. So just a teacher explaining you the content of answering will not be helping you to score better marks in your A level. So for that purpose, you need to practice your past paper questions. Some of the students might have already done this question, but others might not. In case if you have not attempted, this is a question that you can try to attempt, and if you have any question related to this area, you can try. Let's look at the question. This is a question that I have taken from January 2020 paper. When we are looking to this question, it says, discuss reasons why the quality of education is below the social optimum level. Do you see the difference in those two questions? In first question, what I have discussed was impact of education. In this case, causes of under provision of education. So the way how you structure your answer has to be different, but the graph that you apply to any external benefit question will be this graph. This is the typical graph that you have to apply, identifying private benefit, social benefit, and external cost and benefits that have been associated with this, you can apply. So when we are looking to this case study, I have given a case study also from that paper. In this case, it has given you detailed analysis why education is underprovided in Madagascar and based on the situation. For example, some of the points that have been identified here is in the second paragraph of extract, it has mentioned that this was 32% of the workforce employed and in the industry. Many families need their children to work to earn an additional income. So that means because their families are unable to support them to pursue for higher education, they had to work, they had to continue to work. So what you are going to do is, for a 14 marks question, this is the 20-mark question answer that you have to develop. But if it is a 14 marks question, your knowledge, application and analysis, it will be 8 marks. Evaluation is 6 marks. As I mentioned, it is 3, if it is a detailed analysis, 2 analysis and 2 evaluation will be fine, but if not, it is 3 that you have to apply, but depending on the situation, depending on the quality of your answer. So I hope with this discussion you will be able to answer any questions related to externalities, external benefit. So with this, I'll be concluding today's class. In our next session, what we will be covering is another important area of Unit 1, which is elasticities. Different types of elasticities will be covered with the revision tips on that area. Assalamu alaikum.